New legislation proposed by Assemblyman Ting of San Francisco aims to make marijuana more accessible across California. The Assembly member joins us now live from Sacramento, where we understand this bill just passed its first committee earlier this morning. I want to ask you here, one of the other goals of this legislation is to help the legal cannabis market succeed. Why do you feel this legislation will do that?
Thanks. That's a great question, Alex. Right now, before the voters passed Prop 64, you could get marijuana in many places. You just couldn't do it legally unless you had a prescription. Now what we're finding is there's a huge black market right now operating, and instead of people getting licenses and opening up storefronts, what we're having is people making money hand over fist by staying in the black market. They don't have an incentive to pay taxes or to get legalized. So we really need to encourage more cities to allow a few more storefronts up and down the state so that the will of the voters can be really implemented.
And you talk about those cities. There are quite a few cities and local jurisdictions across California that have essentially banned these cannabis outlets. And what your legislation would do would be to require that those local jurisdictions issue one cannabis retail license for every 4 liquor consumption licenses in the city, bars and restaurants. Why do you tie it to the liquor licenses?
Well, again, we wanted to tie it to liquor licenses because that's another substance, another drug. And we thought we also capped it at no more than 1 license per 10,000 people. So if you had a small city that had a number of liquor stores, they wouldn't be forced to open more than 1 or 2 cannabis storefronts. Now, we also say these cities are only applied if the voters pass Prop 64. So if you're in a city or a county that didn't pass Prop 64, you don't have to do it. This is just saying the voters who wanted it, getting them the option to have a storefront where they can purchase cannabis. This puts way too much, right now the current market as is, puts way too much pressure on my city of San Francisco. So because the rest of the Bay Area really hasn't opened its doors to cannabis, everyone's driving into San Francisco to do it, putting way too much pressure on my community and my city.
You know, Prop 64 specifically included language, though, allowing local governments to regulate marijuana-related activity. So isn't legislation like this essentially trying to take away some of that local control?
Well, again, we're saying the cities and counties are not following the will of the voters. 57% of voters passed Prop 64, yet immediately afterwards, about 77% of cities banned marijuana. So what we need to do is make sure that the cities are actually following the will of the voters. So this is legislation to really implement that will of the voters.
All right, we have to wrap up, but lastly, how confident are you that this bill will pass?
You know, again, we think this is a great bill. We're very hopeful that it will continue to pass and get to the governor's desk. It would need a 2/3 vote because it is amending a ballot measure. But again, we're fairly optimistic.
Okay, that is Assemblyman Ting from San Francisco. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.